On this channel, I have been warning you all about why you need to focus on banks right now, especially at a time where we do start to see very large players selling off massive amounts of their banking stocks. This is foreshadowing where we are headed and why you need to wake up now and look beyond what we are seeing from the Fed, from the Treasury. You need to start thinking for yourself. Do not rely on mainstream media or the data that is given to you by these government agencies and prominent figures. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. If we take a quick look at banking stocks, these are the major banks in the world, and we can see the year-to-date percentage on a lot of them. This is pretty rough. But beyond that, we also have regional banks. And outside of that, we also have savings banks. Now, banks have been fairly weak, and most of this is because of, going all the way back to 2023, what's been happening. Okay, back in 2023, we saw a big sign that banks were not as strong as we thought they were. But then it also opened up a can of worms when we looked at the FDIC and how much money they actually had in reserves versus the overall amount of deposits they were supposed to be insuring, which is $180 billion in reserves versus well over $16 trillion in deposits. Let me ask you real quick, does that sound sustainable or even logical? $180 billion to back $16 trillion in deposits. That's the type of fiscal policy and also management that this government actually is pushing. But outside of this, this is why we have major players like Warren Buffett continuing to trim and sell off major banking stocks like Bank of America. And now he no longer needs to report sales because they now have sold a very significant amount, and it's now under the threshold. This is very interesting. And the latest sale of Bank of America stock was about roughly 1.2% of Berkshire's position. Now, Bank of America CEO reacted to Buffett's sale on Thursday saying, "We can ask, we wouldn't ask." That was it. Now, does this have to do with Bank of America recently going down? Or does this have a much larger foreshadowing behind it? In my opinion, I do believe that it is the foreshadowing. And the reason why is because of the BTFP. So this is a very big thing to pay attention to. So this is the Bank Term Funding Program, and this was actually created back in March of 2023 to save the banks when SVB collapsed. It valued bank collateral at book value instead of the discount window that values at market value. The Fed allowed banks with terrible collateral like MBS, etc., to get temporary loans. Now it's pulled away. The Bank Term Funding Program was created to support American businesses and households by making additional funding available to eligible depository institutions to help assure banks have the ability to meet the needs of all their depositors. The BTFP offers loans of up to 1 year in length to banks, savings associations, credit unions, and other eligible depository institutions, pledging any collateral eligible for purchase by the Federal Reserve banks in open market operations, such as U.S. Treasuries, U.S. agency securities, and U.S. agency mortgage-backed securities. But now, because of this being completely shut down back in March, the question is, what is going to be happening for these big banks and these massive players, or even just like the smaller ones that are going to need assistance soon? And when I say that, I do mean because of the debt crisis. There is an ongoing debt crisis. I don't think that I even need to mention it. The question is, what's going to be happening? Well, if banks start to go belly up like they did back in 2023, it is going to most likely cause a contagion effect, and we are not going to have this additional source of liquidity to tap into to save these banks. This is going to cause a massive banking collapse. But also over here, we have the emergency BTFP loans made to the banks were up to 12-month duration, but the recent runoff only makes sense if you assume the second wave was 10 months. If all the remaining BTFP is 10 months, then the liquidity is completely gone in November of this year. And this is probably why you have Warren Buffett selling major banking stocks, because banks are about to get hit with a major problem, which is liquidity. Liquidity is everything. And now that we see liquidity drying up and we have a significant program that is now completely gone, that was the safety raft for these banks, they are going to start drowning. Now, I want to play this video clip real quick from David Icke. Listen closely to this.
Well, it's choice. The more choices you can make, the freer you are. The fewer choices you can make, the less free you are. And in the way that society is structured today, what dictates choice more than anything than money? Who has it and who doesn't? So I hear people talk about how the billionaires and the billionaire corporations, etc., are all about money. But, well, yes, on one level, they have a mentality that is as an insatiable greed. But the bottom line of bottom lines is not about accumulation of money. It's accumulation of control via the weapon of money. And when you look at how this cult, in all its different expressions, brought in the money system to what it is today, it's founded on creating money out of nothing called credit and charging interest on it. You know, you go into a bank and you say, borrow £100,000. Well, in theory, well, the bank doesn't do anything in terms of moving precious metal around or any of this stuff. It puts into your account £100,000 called credit that has never, does not, and will never exist except in theory. And then it says, for doing that, we're going to charge you interest. And if you don't pay back the principal and the interest on credit, then we are going to take your wealth that does exist, your house, your business, your land, whatever. And if you look at this creation of money, even in theory, when you go to a bank and you get a loan, you will borrow £100,000 in theory, and they will put £100,000 into your account. But you're not paying back £100,000. You're paying back £100,000 plus interest. The interest is never created, only the principal, even in this theoretical way. And thus, by design, not accident, there is never at any point enough units of exchange, money, in whatever form it takes, in circulation to pay back all the principal on the debt outstanding and all the interest on the debt outstanding. So absolutely included in the way it's structured is that people are going to lose their homes, they're going to lose their businesses because there's not enough money in circulation to pay back all the debt and all the interest on the debt. Now, when you have an expansion of the money supply and you have what we call a boom, what that means is, of course, that there's lots of money, theoretical, etc., in circulation. So there's more to spend on things. So companies need to make more things and provide more services because of the demand. And with that expansion, you can hide in the Peter pays Paul method the fact that there's not enough money in circulation to pay back all the interest on the debt and all the principal. But when, and this is done systematically by that which is behind the banking system, they start withdrawing money from circulation, like in 2008, the credit crunch. They just stopped giving out loans of money that only existed in theory, called credit crunch. People couldn't service their debt. They couldn't pay back their bills. And thus it becomes painfully obvious in a recession, in a downturn, that there's not enough money in circulation to pay back all the interest and all the principal on the debt. And so this is a process that's gone on since this form of banking started, where you expand the economy. And what happens in that time? People take out more loans. They get more confident. They maybe expand their business because of demand. They maybe buy a bigger house. They maybe have 2 holidays a year instead of 1, and so on. These are the good times. But what's happening there from the banking system point of view, that the whole, is the fishing line is going out. And then they start taking money out of circulation. So there's not enough, as there was before, to buy the things that generated the boom, that generated the need to loan more money to meet the demand of the boom. And the fishing line then goes back in. And what's happening is in this process all the way through is that there has been a constant exchange through this boom bust cycle of real wealth in exchange for fresh air money called credit. And this is a massive, massive foundation reason why we talk today about the 1%. When you have literally a handful of people who have equivalent wealth to the poorest half of the global population, and it's not based on reality. It's based on this manipulating of the money system.
And this is exactly what's happening right now, right? You know, I talk about it quite often on this channel now. What we are witnessing is the warning signs already being out there, okay? But yeah, they are technically not only controlling the entire financial system, but they're controlling it through inaccurate, falsified data to push certain fiscal policy. And this goes all the way up the food chain. BlackRock, Main Street, they all control fiscal policy. They all have a hand to play in it, which allows them to get wealthier while keeping the poor poor. And even right now, as we really kind of look at Warren Buffett, everyone's getting concerned about this. And although, yes, I do think that this is a warning sign of what's to come, I think that's a little bit too early. I think that we are about to see a massive boom right before we see a very big bust. And it does have a lot to do with the debt, which I keep telling you guys, they want to target 50 trillion. Like, this is not, hey, we need to slow down the debt. No, they want the debt to continue to surge. They want $50 trillion by, this is saying by 2034, but I think that it happens by 2030. Janet Yellen literally said 50 trillion by 2030. They want this to happen. They want to make sure that everything around us is extremely expensive. They want to essentially steal money from you through reckless fiscal policy, and it's all to push an agenda. And by the way, just like David is saying, it is control, because what they are trying to do here is sabotage the financial system as we know it, usher in a digital financial system. It's the same exact reason why we are seeing so much money being invested into digital ID technology. And also we're starting to see a lot of development happening around digital currencies and a digital dollar. This is what is happening right now. It's financial sabotage to make sure that the financial system as we know it melts down and takes a very large amount of major bank deposits with it. A lot of people are unaware of the law in place that allows banks to bail in deposits. And at a time where banks look weak, and at a time where Warren Buffett is continuing to sell off a major banking stock, Bank of America, one of the, top tier banks, one of the too big to fail banks, it is showing us warning signs of what's happening right now and why we need to be aware of this as well. And it's also at a time where the UF deficit is hitting almost $2 trillion, and we're now spending $950 billion on interest payments on the debt. This is not sustainable. It is a very big problem. And as we do think about what type of pressure this is putting on the financial system, it is extremely excessive. And then we think about these liquidity programs that were put in place to save banks now folding up, taking liquidity with it. I don't think people are aware of what's about to happen. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.